Fix It Tony here. Hey Nala, how's it going? We have a video today that I'm going to put together. I'm going to have a future video coming up on the wheels, and you will notice a little preview. They look phenomenal. There's a PVD coating on these wheels. Really nice, not very expensive, but we'll go with that in another video. Today we're going to talk about the service we did on the transmission. We did a pan drop on this. There's a lot of videos out there. You can look those up. I just wanted to go over some details about the pan drop and what I did and a way to make it inexpensive. And the reason I did it, I used to have the dealership do it, but the dealerships are getting so astronomically expensive, it's crazy. They used to do a pan drop for 150 to 200 bucks. Pan drops 350 to 400 now. 100% exchange went from like 200 bucks all the way up to almost $300 to $400. And that's multiple dealers, Toyota dealers, not Lexus dealers. And, you know, inflation, call it what it is. I'm here in California. It sucks. I decided to start doing it myself. We're going to save some money here. So anyway, when you're doing it, you just want a large pan that you can put underneath, because one thing you want to be able to do is measure the fluid that comes out. If you can measure what comes out, you can see what you need to put in. And you can see this fluid is nasty. And this is only 60,000 miles since the last time I serviced it. This looks gross. It's lost its color. It's, you know, the viscosity is still good on it. It's still, you know, cherry red. Like a dark cherry red. It's not what it should be. But, you know, I'll put this in the description, all the parts I'm about to show you and what I got them from, so you can go find them yourself. But, you know, having a graduated cylinder like this measures up to a gallon, and it tells you what you're getting out. And, you know, we pull out roughly about a gallon, which is 4 quarts. And one thing you'll notice here is it's marked right about there. When it was hot, when it came out, 130 degrees, it was about a full quarter-inch higher. And the reason I say that is, you know, as this fluid gets hot, it does expand. That's why there's a parameter of temperature that you need to check this at, and it's between about 95 degrees and 110 degrees, which is pretty cold. It's not hot at all. So an engine that just started up and ran for like 5 minutes is about where you need to be. If you have a decent tester, OBD2 scanner code, you can go in there, you can see when that temperature is reached, and then you can pull a plug from the side of the transmission and add fluid as needed after you pull the full plug from the bottom, which will tell you if the fluid is all the way filled or not. The reason I say that too is that, you know, people that drain and fill, you're not draining everything. That fill plug, even though it's draining, the drain plug, you can see that after you pull the pan down, there's still about that much fluid still left in the pan. And that's usually the dirtiest fluid that's in there. It's at the bottom. And that's why it's important to replace the filter. The filter I get from Rock Auto comes with everything you need besides the crush gaskets, you know, the crush washers, and those you have 2 on the oil pan, on the transmission pan itself, and then you have a rubberized one for the fill plug. I'll put those in the description also where to find those. They're not very expensive. Just order them ahead of time. And some people don't replace them, but you run the risk of having to leak, so don't do that to yourself. The next thing is I don't use WS fluid anymore. I actually started using this Idemitsu ATF. A lot of people were speaking highly of this, and I'll tell you, took 4 quarts out, which is about almost half the capacity of the transmission, drove the car. There is a difference. It does shift way smoother, and whether it's because of dirty fluid, but even when I had the Toyota dealer do it and do the flush, it didn't shift as smooth as it shifts now. So that just goes to tell you this is a good quality product. It's not horribly expensive. It's available at Rock Auto. You can also get it on Amazon. I highly recommend it. It definitely makes a difference. And it's a fully synthetic, not a mineral-based product. WS supposedly is synthetic, but I have my questions about that just because of the smell difference. I can usually tell the difference between a mineral-based and synthetic fluid, and I'm starting to think that, you know, they're not using a full synthetic base on that fluid from Toyota. In any case, we got that all done. Very easy. About 4 quarts out, 4 quarts in. Check the fluid levels. Everything was perfect. So now I want to finish flushing, and that's where we're going to go into the next part. It was going to cost me about $800 to $850 to get the pan drop, the fluid service done. If you do a drain, it's about 2 quarts. If you do the pan gasket and the filter, it's about 4 quarts. The capacity is roughly about 10 quarts in this transmission, so you're not getting all the fluid out. So what I did is I went and bought a machine. You may want to buy it, you may not, but it's only $350 from Vevor. I'm going to put it in the description. We're going to hook it up here. We're going to go ahead and run it. We're going to put all new fluid in and show you how easy it is to use. If you guys want to buy one, great. If you have multiple Lexus vehicles or multiple vehicles that can use it, you may be able to justify the purchase. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're in front of the engine. Just pop the cover off. If you had the side covers, don't worry about them. You're going to take 2 10 millimeters out of the core support here, and then you're going to pull right here in these little tabs on the side and pull those out on both sides. So we'll just grab this and just throw it forward, just out of the way. I have some light here. It's good to have a good amount of light. I have a light bar we're going to throw on top of here, make this a little bit easier so we can see what we're looking at down here. We're looking towards the driver's side of the vehicle, and you'll notice this line right here. This is our transmission line. Now we can intercept it right here. Sorry. We can intercept it right here or at the transmission. We're probably going to do it right here because it's a little bit easier. Some people do it over here at the transmission, but basically we're going to grab the transmission fluid, the pressurized side, and then we're going to intercept the two so we can pull the fluid out by the pressurized side and then put fluid in on the return side. And we'll show you how that's done. Super easy. You can do it from the top of the vehicle. Some people pull the cover off on the bottom jacket. No reason to do that. You want the vehicle level when you do this. So this is the machine we're going to be using. It's from Vevor. Vevor is, they just rebrand other people's stuff, so don't worry about that. Comes with pressure gauges, which is nice because we're going to have to throttle the gauge to make sure that these match. We want to put as much pressure in as coming out. You don't want to mess with that. You can also got some view tubes here so you can see what's going in and what's going out. We're going to prime the system. We don't want to pump a bunch of air into the transmission. So we'll make sure we prime this. I'll show you how to do that. And then you want to just go to exchange. This is a locked cabinet, which I don't know if it has to be, but you can see you have your bottles in here. One's going to be your old fluid, and you can see the tube going into it. The other one's going to be your new fluid where it's going to be drawing. This one's a little harder to get out because you have the actual fill tube for this, and you have your idea of how much fluid you have in there. The fill tube is going to be at the top, and you can just throw a funnel in there. We'll go ahead and drop 10 quarts of fluid into this, probably 15 to be honest, just because we're going to use this on another car too, so I don't mind overfilling it. On the side, it does have a cleaning function. I'm not sure what filter this is, but it actually can process through and filter fluid too, which is kind of cool, I guess, if you need that. Again, it clearly says out to vehicle and then from vehicle, and then you have your throttling line where you can kind of control how much is going back and coming back and forth because you're using an electric pump on board, and it just connects to your batteries, a 12-volt system. And then you have all your connections here in the back, and it tells you how to connect it in. Very, very easy, and then you have your hose lines. So we're going to go ahead and get this filled up, and then with 15 quarts, and go get it hooked up to the... All right, so we have it all filled up. As you can see, you got the clear window here. So, you know, it has plenty of fluid in here. It's kind of neat that you can at least get an idea of how much is going out and going in. We used to have these T-Tech machines at a dealership I used to work at, and I loved them, but they were a plunger type, and sometimes if you had a weak pump or something going on with the transmission, one of these systems, if it didn't have an auxiliary pump on it, and it was using the transmission pump to pump the fluid in and out, you would push it over a line and kill that thing. So I do like the fact this has its own pump. And then you have all your connectors, all sorts of connectors for this thing. Beautiful, wonderful. I like this. Makes it way easier. And then you have your quick connect lines for the lines you take loose, all the different types. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get this started. I'm all about tools to make your life easier. This is on Amazon. I'll put it in the description. It has all the different kind of connectors to get hose clamps off the right way. And one of the most nifty things it has is this hose separator. And basically what you do, if you can see it, you just slide it between the metal pipe and the hose, and then work your way around really gently, not poking outward, but you know, just all along the line, and it'll quickly break that hose loose. So if you don't have this set, go buy it. It's like 20 bucks, makes your life way easier. So now that we got that loose, we're gonna go ahead and prime this system over here and move on to the next step. Okay, to prime the system is very easy. Just put a connector on with the hose that you're gonna use. It doesn't really matter because all you're doing is circulating the fluid to the system, because all we want is no air in the system. So you're gonna go ahead and hook it to your 12-volt battery. You're gonna make sure the off switch is not on, which is an emergency stop. We're gonna turn on the on button, and you'll see the fluid start flowing through there. And now it's coming through here. So now we know that the fluid is going through. We feel good about it. I don't see a bunch of air bubbles in there. So we're gonna go ahead and shut this off. And now we can hook up our line. Okay, so we have our fluid lines hooked up. We just went ahead and used the hose clamps that were included. Again, we're sending, this is going back to the vehicle, and this is, the red line is the bad fluid going back into the tank here. We're gonna go ahead and open the valve here. We're gonna prime the system, make sure she's ready to go. She looks good. She's ready to rock and roll. So we're gonna go and start the car and go through the gears. All right, so have your assistant, they're gonna start the car. Go ahead and start. And turn the pump on. We're gonna wait to see when the fluid starts coming through. We'll watch our pressure. Make sure our pressures are very close, which they are. We're good there. And we're gonna watch the dirty fluid start working in. You can see a big difference in the fluid type here. So fluid's going in. So my phone decided to go in CarPlay mode, so I stopped filming, which sucks. But basically what you're gonna do is have your assistant start the car, go through the gears. Once you verify that your fluid's exchanging, then you can see here, you can see that once you see that they're the same color, then you're good. And you're gonna go 10 seconds in every gear, 10 seconds in every gear, and you're just watching your fluid. So you can see, we did about a little over 10 quarts here. So you can see the line right there. The fluid looks the same in both. So we've completely successfully changed the fluid here. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna reassemble everything, test drive it, make sure it's halfway decently warm. If it's within spec, and I'll show you how to do that, we're gonna check and make sure the fluid level is correct. So now we're done with our machine. We disconnected it here. And we asked what's the hardest part. The hardest part is always getting the stupid hose clamp back on, believe it or not. But having the right tools makes it easier. Having this kit, you can, if you look, it locks. So as soon as you put that clamp on, it locks, it holds it in place, which, even though I have this kit, I still struggle sometimes with the pliers and don't even think about the fact I have this kit. Yeah, anyway, make your life easier. So we got reconnected, wiped up any excess that went anywhere, which was very little, but we want to wipe that up because if there's anything new after the test drive, we want to be able to tell. And that's why we're leaving the covers off for the test drive to make sure we don't have any issues. We're going to disconnect the machine from the battery, move it out of the way so we can get this car on the lift when we're done doing a quick test drive. All right, so we're in the car. We're going to go for a quick test drive. I'm trying not to get it too hot because we absolutely need to not have to wait a long time to check the fluid level, because again, it's very particular about the temperature it can be. The engine's cold right now, so we're just going to drive it to make sure nothing abnormal is happening. You probably heard that pop. I just replaced the control arm and I think they gave me a defective one. So anyway, so we're going to test drive her, see how she does, and then we'll come back and look at her level. Okay, so we're under the car now. This is the check plug we're talking about. I didn't tighten it down quite all the way because I don't want to crush the crush washer, because with our final set, we want to go ahead and set it down and put it tight, plus another quarter turn, you can torque it, but that works just fine. We have no leaks, everything looks good. You generally, it says 66 inch pounds, not foot pounds, inch pounds. I usually set it to like 80, because every time I've done it to torque, it always drips. And you know, they say it shouldn't, it does. I don't know what it is about these gaskets, but they want a little more torque. And to remove these, you do have to remove this bracket here that's attached to the exhaust to access the ones here. And then it's pretty straightforward. There's 4 bolts on the filter housing. It comes off, and clean everything up, put it back together, really easy. So I do have my car function on this particular Lexus, which is neat because I could start it and I can check the temperature using my app through my Think Diag, which I'll also have in the description if you want to buy one of those. We just hit this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. You'll hear the beep back, fuel pump kick on, and she's going to start up for us. And we'll go ahead and check our temperature, see where we're at. We're 126 degrees. It's a touch higher than we would want to be, but if this is pouring out just a little bit, we should be fine. But if it's pouring out like crazy like that, probably a touch over on fluid. So we'll let her pour out a little bit, test the temperature. It's pretty good. So yeah, we're a little bit over on fluid, it looks like. So we're going to have to do this when the temperature is correct, because we want to make sure this is correct. So what we're going to do, very, very easy. We're going to just let her cool down. We'll come back to it and we'll get within the target range because we're a touch hotter than we need to be. All right, so while we're waiting for the transmission to cool down, we'll go over the old filter. This is an OE filter. There's 4 bolts on it. It's very easy to put on, take off. Just make sure the O-ring on the back here comes off with it, and the new one goes on. And you can see here clearly there's no debris. I mean, everything is really good about suspending in the fluid. garbage that might be in there. So in any case, we're going to toss that one out. Here's the old gasket there. And you can see you have to use these little press-in little metal pieces, and that's what helps keep the gasket from completely smushing. It's actually pretty ingenious design from Mazin. Then we have our old fluid here. And we have this in a graduated cylinder. And what basically that means is on the side we have measurement, so we know how much is coming out of this transmission. It's pretty dark. It's pretty nasty looking. I'll pour it out so you can get an idea of what this looks like. Try not to get a little pour on the ground at all. But this is pretty nasty fluid. But again, that's what it's designed to do. It's supposed to suspend all the debris and garbage. And the reason I'm pouring out slowly is I always like to look at the bottom of this and make sure there's no crazy debris. And you can see there's a few little things in there, but nothing crazy. Nothing that is an issue. Our magnets were clean, so I'm not terribly concerned about this. The transmission initially right now, since the service, shifted beautifully. Everyone seems to love this fluid. So anyway, we'll let that pour out. We'll clean up around here. We'll give this a couple hours to cool down. I almost forgot to mention, so I also got this from Vevor, and you'll ask, how do you know how to put fluid back in? Vevor has this nice tool, and it gives you a way to scoop it in there, put the fluid back in. You can pressurize this less than 40 psi. You have a gauge on the side here, and then you can inject fluid right into there. And this is nice because this actually carries, I do believe, up to 10 quarts. And you can see there's still some left in there, but it makes getting the fluid in there really seamlessly. You just put the airline on it, and it just pushes it in, and you know exactly how much is going in because you have your measurement on the side. So again, this will be in the description. It's only like, I think it was $50 we got this thing for. Worth its weight in gold, and it's not just for transmission fluid, it works for everything, including gear oil. All right, so we're 104 degrees, so we're within spec right now. I'm kind of thinking this got a little more fluid pumped into it than was coming out. Because as you can see, we're definitely flowing too much. We're definitely over full. So we'll let this flow until it gets to a trickle. We're at the right temperature now. Definitely don't want these overfilled, but you can clearly see the fluid is really nice looking. That's exactly what we're looking for. Nice cherry red fluid. So we're going to let this drain out until it starts to trickle, and then we'll go ahead and stop it, and we'll be right where we need to be. All right, so a couple seconds later, we're right where we need to be. So it's just a slow little trickle. That's where we want to be. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. We'll torque her down where she needs to be. Let this drive her car. But we should be right in the ballpark. And that's why it's important to double check fluid levels, because you never know, especially with these machines. And when I worked at the dealer, I had the same problem. It seemed like there was enough, the fluid was fine. But on those machines, sometimes you're pumping fluid in faster than it's coming out. So you'll actually overfill the system without even knowing. All right, so driving perfectly. Level is right where it needs to be. A couple things I discovered while doing this. I did discover, because I noticed my coolant looked like it was like a hairline low. So I was like, oh, well, I'll go ahead and pull the cap off, maybe add a little bit of fluid. I got a little pressure in there. Yeah, and the cap is destroyed. So, it just goes to show sometimes you need to just take a look at things when you're in there. This is how much fluid came out of here. We'll put it into our graduated container here, and we'll see how much over we were on fluid. Just a little bit. It's not necessary, but I'm just a little curious about how much flowed in extra that should not have. So we're going to go ahead and dump that in there like so. There's a little mixture of some old fluid that's in there, so that's why it's a little darker than it looked before. Throw this over here. Okay, so here we go. And just over 32, between 48, so a little over a quart. So it flowed a little over a quart too much into the system, which not a big deal, but a quart over, it's not a big deal because it's not a lot of fluid, so it's good to know going forward that I have to keep an eye on that, but it's not something that we want to leave in there, of course. Sorry, I'm trying to get this thing to, it's kind of being a pain here. There she goes. That'll drain down. You don't want to be overfull. Overfull is dangerous for these systems. make sure that you have the correct amount of fluid in. So we know that our system flows a little more in than it's coming out. It's good to know in the future. So I do the next one, which will be in a video probably next week, showing the ES350. We're going to do the same thing, same kind of scenario. Pan. We're going to actually show the actual pan filter change and all that. But it will have to be cognizant of the issue that we're pumping more fluid in than it's coming out. So we double check the fluid level and don't run into a problem there. So please like, subscribe, and share. I try to respond to all your comments, all your questions. Our channel's growing tremendously. A lot more projects come in. This car actually is in the Vevor Restore and Protect videos, if you want to check that out. Actually a little over 1,000 miles since the oil change and has not consumed any oil, which is a beautiful thing because this car was drinking a quart of oil every 1,000 to 1,500 miles, which is kind of scary. But that Valvoline Restore and Protect actually fixed that. If you want to see that video, look in the description. I'll have it there. Thanks again for watching. Have a great night.